What is up, everybody, and welcome to Celtics Talk Weekly Postgame Live. I am your host, Seamus Zarlingo. Alongside of me tonight, Nick Franco and Griffin Aldrich. Guys, the Boston Celtics were finally in pursuit of back-to-back titles. Game one this afternoon on the TD Garden floor. The Boston Celtics pull out a 103-86 victory over the Orlando Magic. The Celtics coming in as the 2 seed, the Magic as the 7 seed, playing the Atlanta Hawks this past week in the play-in tournament to earn a spot in today's game against the Celtics. And as we saw throughout the game, the Celtics struggled in portions of this matchup. However, in the end, pulled out well, a pretty good win here today, a 17-point victory over the Orlando Magic. And you guys know how this rolls. We've been doing it all regular season. Now we get to do it rolling into the playoffs. Guys, initial thoughts. We'll start with you, Franco.
The Celtics beat the Orlando Magic in their own game today. The Celtics only scored 103 points tonight. Two of the starters in tonight's game only were in single digits for scoring. It was a defensive-minded game that we were expecting to see out of Orlando, but it was really the Celtics just taking it up with them on the defensive end. 13 steals, uh, leading and 5 blocks, so 18 stalks for him. A lot of transition breaks. It was a close battle during the first half of tonight's game. Orlando was keeping it close. It was a physical game. We saw that when Jason Tatum went down with a injury to his right hand. I think he just caught himself a quick little stinger to the hand. So I'm ex- I'm expecting things will be all set with that moving forward. But it was just an all around great win. This team was able to extend the lead and really were able to maintain and have quality control through that final fourth quarter. And were able to walk away with tonight's game and take the lead 1-0.
I will say this. I don't know how long I'm going to be on here. Might be leave and come back. We'll figure it out. But my initial thoughts from tonight's game is just I said it earlier too. I feel like this is kind of going to be like that Pacers series. Back last year before Eastern Conference Finals matchup. I feel like the Magic, they play at a pace where kind of it's going to be back and forth. I mean, this isn't going to be an easy one. Every game is going to be a battle. I think the Boston Celtics could get it done in 4 or 5, but it's going to be back and forth. And you saw it today. The Boston Celtics, I love their play in the first quarter. They looked great. Their intensity was great. They looked honestly like an OKC type play. Honestly, they were fast. They were aggressive. They played great basketball. Kind of slowed down the pace in the second quarter and then picked it back up, got that intensity back. But one thing that really stood out to me was I love the fact that Tatum didn't have such a great night, and Porzingis was obviously struggling in parts of the nights. Jaylen Brown had a midnight. He looked good though. Obviously, we'll get into him probably
Yep.
later in the game, post game show. But he looked good. I saw a lot of things that I was happy about because there's been a lot of concern around him. But I saw a lot of good things about him. But it's the fact that obviously gonna get into it again, Derek White. But it's the fact that Derek White and Peyton Pritchard, you saw it when they had that big performance, both having in the 40s. You see that energy is kind of shifting, and Tatum doesn't have to have a big night. Brown doesn't have to have a big night. Porzingis doesn't have to have a big night. It could be a team effort, and that's what the Boston Celtics do, and that's what's so important. And overall, this game is just a statement win. And on Celtics Nation Rise, the podcast we did, episode 34, Andrew was talking about, hey, look, the Magic could come out and easily get you on this first game, and then the Boston Celtics are going to turn around and show some intensity. I mean, the game was there for the Magic a lot of the time, but I feel after that second quarter, the Boston Celtics kind of were like, all right, we're not going to let this happen. We're not going to let this be a factor. We're going to keep the intensity pushing, and we're going to go through. And that's what they did. I mean, they closed out the game solid. There was a little, again, we're going to get into it, but there was a little shakeup with Jason Tatum. So it was definitely, it felt more intense than a game one of a playoffs. But I love intensity. It's playoff action. It's the best basketball you're going to see all year. We're finally over that slump, not slump, like hill waiting for playoffs. We're finally here. Banner 19 is finally in the making. Like, it's this is what we've been anticipating for. So it's going to be good basketball. And today was, if you guys watched the game, you guys saw it. Today was a great example of that. That first quarter was amazing. Then they turned it around, and it was just great Celtics basketball. And it's time for 19.
Well, this game, even though the score indicates this was a blowaway Celtics win near the end of it, as we look at the lead tracker here, you can tell the Orlando Magic, they gave the Celtics some trouble in this game. And ultimately, I didn't like how the Celtics played in that first half whatsoever. And you see there, the sea of green is certainly there in the second half, which is what we love to see. And I think that's what we're going to see throughout the series. I think we're going to see more so games like this where it's a tough physical battle early on, and then the Celtics are able to pull away with their depth later on in games like they did tonight, because we see some performances from the Celtics depth. Peyton Pritchard, Derek White, the two most notable ones. Those guys really got after it against the Orlando Magic, who were struggling to find offense. That how we've talked. I mean, we've talked about the Orlando Magic and their offense this entire week, and ultimately it came to bite them in this game as the game went on. However, early on in this contest, I wasn't exactly fond of how the Celtics were playing, because we've talked about this in a lot of the previews we had coming out this week, and it was about how the Celtics, they needed to push the tempo, push the pace, and not play at a slow pace with the Magic, and not let the Magic dictate the game and win all the hustle stats. Well, early on, what happened? In the first quarter, 8 offensive rebounds awarded to the Orlando Magic, because the Magic, their big bodies, went out, pursued rebounds, and the Celtics, they were not boxing out, and they were not being the physical, intense team out on the floor early on in the game, and they were losing the hustle stat categories, and they allowed 8 offensive rebounds. They only grabbed one themselves. And then you look at the end of the first quarter, the Celtics, they only took 18 shots. The Orlando Magic, they took 26 shots. That is a total advantage for the Orlando Magic. When the Magic cannot consistently score from an offensive standpoint, they have to create extra possessions with turnovers, offensive rebounds, second chance points, any little opportunities they can get. They like to get themselves to the free throw line, as we talked about in the previews. Any little points they can get within the margins, the Orlando Magic need in order to pull out ball games. That's why I compare them to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers have to do everything well in order to pull out ball games. That's the same with the Orlando Magic. And tonight, well, look at how this game started. The Celtics allowed the Magic to shoot 8 more shots than themselves. And we all know the Celtics are a more prolific offensive team than the Magic, as we saw this game go along. But early on in the game, if you're allowing 8 more shots to the Magic and they cannot create offense efficiently throughout a game, you're putting them in a place of an advantage, because they need all of those extra opportunities to win the ball game, especially if you're going to play a grinded out ball game like it was tonight, 103-86. That's a very low score in today's NBA. It looks a little, yeah, looking at the score, it looks like the Celtics, it was a total blowout, but it didn't necessarily feel that way
No.
throughout the game. It felt that way obviously down the stretch, but throughout the game, the Magic, they certainly had a chance, as that lead tracker indicated, that sea of green going away before half. But I didn't think the Celtics played all that great in the first half of this one. They were very discombobulated offensively. I think the Orlando Magic's defense really stifled the Celtics. They couldn't really get their mismatches where they wanted to. And just every single matchup the Celtics had was a physical. They were facing somebody who was physical, somebody with length, somebody with size, somebody who could actually defend on the Magic. But throughout the game, the Celtics just had more offensive options, and you saw once the Celtics, when they went on their runs, that's when they were pushing the tempos, creating turnovers, getting those extra opportunities for themselves, and then just playing at that up tempo pace to the point where they're just putting points on the board consistently. Whereas the Magic, they couldn't match the Celtics in transition. They couldn't match the Celtics in the half court either, because let's face it, Paulo Banchero and Franz Wagner, I believe they went what, 14, or it was 13 of, no, they were 20. I don't even have the stat. I'm not even going to throw it out. It was like they shot way over 50% in the first half between the two of them. Those were the two Magic scoring options. But as for everybody else, the Magic just didn't have enough after Wagner, after Boncaro, and those two guys just didn't create enough for everybody else out on the floor in order for the Magic to go ahead and actually compete with the Celtics near the end of this game. And that's ultimately why I think Franco and I, we came in here and predicted a sweep in this series. We thought, yes, it would be a tough physical series, as we saw in the first half and even into the third quarter, but as the game went along, the Celtics just had way more. The Celtics had way more versatility than the Magic, way more offensive options, more offense creation, and just more guys off the bench to bring in and help the cause. And tonight we saw the Celtics ran away with this game, and I think that's gonna be the style of how the series goes down the rest of the way forward. But just looking at some of the Celtics struggles tonight in that first half before they took off, what exactly bit the Celtics the most from your guys' perspective? And Franco, we'll start with you.
Can I say something really quick?
Actually, yes, we'll go with you, Griffin,
Yeah.
because we know we're in and out here.
Yeah, I gotta go after this, but I might be able to join back. If not, yeah. But I just want to say I agree with you. I felt the intensity in the first quarter was better running wise. Like we were playing at a fast pace. Like there was a lot of fast breaks, a lot of fast plays. Playing physical and aggressive. A lot of elbows. You saw it playing physical basketball, but. A thing that frustrated me is we couldn't get a rebound. And you already mentioned that, Seamus, but we couldn't get a rebound. We were making kind of lazy buckets in a sense. And that's what frustrated me from the get-go. But then we kind of shifted the energy a little bit, and then it was a downfall. But I look at that, and it kind of it sucks in a sense because if we would have got boards right there, because there were so many opportunities for us to get boards, we could have been up like 35 to something in that first quarter. But I gotta run. But great game. I might be back. You guys might see me later, but you guys got it.
Link's always open.
Got you. I'll
Yes.
see you guys later.
Thank you, Griffin. Thank you. All right, here we go. This transition is always.
There you
Oh,
go.
hey, how about that? Transition was kind of smooth this time, wasn't it? Do we have the green box this time? I don't know. I didn't see it.
I didn't.
I didn't.
No, I think we were good. But
We're good here. Nice.
yeah, I'll kind of go. I want to give credit to the Orlando Magic for the first half of tonight's game. They were making it a pretty physical and a challenging game on the Boston Celtics when this game first started. The Orlando Magic were able to get things flowing for themselves and also were able to match a lot of the Celtics scoring ability through the first half of the game. Credit to Paulo Banchero for being a solid player and Franz Wagner. I just am kind of curious wondering if that is the best that Orlando can throw at the Boston Celtics and if there were any adjustments that the Orlando Magic could make because holding the Boston Celtics to 103 points is a feat within itself when you're facing this team. However, not being able to make up for it on the offensive end is a challenging thing for Orlando. So not being able to get any contributions from anyone else, and that might have been within the Celtics' game plan was allow everyone else to find success on the allow Boncaro and Wagner to score and just take out all the other options. And it seemed like the Magic had the opposite game plan when they were on the defensive side covering the Celtics when they basically were doing a good job of taking Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum out of the game, but that opened up open shots for Drew Holiday, Derek White, and Peyton Pritchard to be able to score. And the Orlando Magic kind of made it challenging for the Celtics to find that interior success when scoring, being able to cut to the lane. One play that I was very happy to see in the first half of tonight's game was when Jalen Brown was able to take the ball isolation and work it into the rim, and it was a very athletic. Um, they had it set up very well. It was just with all the questions that we've had for the past week. If you go through our page for the past 7 days, you'll just see us asking about what's going on with Jalen Brown's knee. What is this going to be something to worry about and concern about? And tonight, he proved that he can play on it, and that comfort on the defensive end was there, and he was still able to contribute in today's win.